It's a pattern I've noticed. Every time I go somewhere and I come back, she's cooking soup. Soup, 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 soup. Like, I've never seen her actually doing voodoo, so, but that's probably what people that do voodoo want you to think, right? Because you guys keep pointing out some good things.
I find it quite interesting how Blueface tries to tell his audience he didn't know that Nevaeh was into whatever her spiritual practice is. I don't believe that whatsoever. I strongly believe that he have always known that she was into something else besides the monotheistic faiths, which are Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. So for him to pretend like he didn't know or he wasn't aware, I don't believe that. As a matter of fact, I believe that probably one of the things that attracted him to Nevaeh was probably her being very unorthodox in her mindset, as well as her openness to be into poly, as well as probably her spiritual practice as well. And as a matter of fact, a lot of times people go after people like her and others because with every narcissistic warlock, they're going to end up using you as a scapegoat anyway. Okay, when it all falls down, they're going to use you as a scapegoat. So they try to look for people who have visible deficits or things that are just not acceptable by the general public, so that when they get through breaking you down and you're no longer useful to them and they devalue you, they're going to run a nasty smear campaign. And in that smear campaign, they are going to be able to use either your personality against you, your lifestyle against you, or even something unorthodox, eclectic, or eccentric about you, because they know how people are. Human beings are not graceful, okay? On average, they're not graceful. People can be very, very, very judgmental to the point where they can be offensive to people, especially when you live a different lifestyle, you know? So I do believe that he seeks out women who have certain visible deficits so that he can exploit them at a later date. Now, as relates to Nevaeh, Nevaeh is not the only quote unquote witch in this situation. He would know because he's the head witch of them all. When you look at Blueface, it's clear to see the man appears to be a warlock and he is a male witch. And when you look at Krishan Rock, it's clear to see, of course, with all of the other visible deficits, that she too is a witch who cloaks herself in the garments of Christianity. But Nevaeh, Krishan Rock, and Blueface in particular, absent of Jaden, I believe that all three of them are witches and that Blueface is the head witch of them all. And when it comes to their situation, the difference between them and him is he's very vocal, very open about his casting. He has turned these women's bodies into shrines. Each woman that he involves himself with has to see him as a deity. They have to take him on as a god and they have to idolize him and treat him as if he is their personal deity. And he will do that by tagging himself onto these women through a soul bond, a trauma bond, and a soul tie, by way of putting his name on their body. And if it is not his name that goes on their body, it has to be his image or his likeness. It has to go on their body. So he uses their body as a shrine to him, as a place of worship, dedication, commitment, and possession. Then, after he uses their physical body as a shrine, they have to give him offerings. What is the offering? They have to give him their soul, their mind, their body, their money, everything as it relates to total domination over their life. And he doesn't do it through manipulation and deception. He is very outright, very forthcoming with what he is doing. But when you have women who are broken and very damaged and also struggling with the spirit of divination, also dealing with backwardness and confusion, then these women like that ruling with an iron fist type of energy. They don't see anything wrong with it because maybe they have parental wounds that were not fulfilled when it comes to their foundation and maybe their childhood. So maybe these women are used to abuse of some sort. So him coming through and being so demanding and dominating and very blatantly disrespectful, and then sprinkling a little bit of charm to disarm and a little bit of love bombing, that can really knock a person who's already traumatized off kilter, and especially one who's always looking for love in the wrong places. So these women who clearly have a lot of brokenness and have not healed from maybe some childhood issues, when they meet somebody like a Blueface, they find it to be very thrilling, very adventurous, and in the back of their mind, they are under the belief that they can conquer this man, that they're going to be the one to tame this beast inside of this individual. But all the while, they are attracted to the chaos and the fact that he keeps them on edge, and they really don't know what they're going to get, even though he's very forthright with what he says and how he thinks and how he views them. They're nothing but a means to an end, because warlocks and narcissists, they are energetically parasitic, so they have to feed on a host in order for them to maintain their vitality. So he finds women who have some level of brokenness, even if there's a peak of light inside of that woman. But with all of these women, whether it be Jaden, Nevaeh, or Krishan Rock, there has been some aura there. You can clearly see a little bit of aura there. But after he gets done with them, he depletes them, he destiny swaps with them, he siphons them, and then he goes on to the next victim, especially as he has locked them down in his spiritual orbit by making sure they have a child by him, or they're so trauma bonded that it's going to be very hard for them to get away from him, even if they wanted to.
Good. That motherfucker war.
He done put her in the news. That's what happened when you behave. Honey, you gotta behave yourself. I'm telling you, if you be sweet, honey, you can take him to the bank. But if you be hard, you gonna watch another bitch go to the bank.
So he will act like he's releasing, but he will always be hovering and reaching out, whether it's via phone or email or just through the smear campaign itself.
You ain't did nothing but 10K views today. That was the max you did for me. That's not enough. You're dismissed. We had fun with you. We got all we can out of you. Now it's time for you to bust a move. I'm done talking to you.
Just to keep them in the loop so that they can respond to him, whether good or bad. But he is always trying to stay connected to those in which he is siphoning from. And as I said, he uses their body as a shrine. And even if he does not have an altar, so to speak, he uses his phallus as a wand. If you know anything about that, then you know what I'm talking about. A lot of times, warlocks like to use their phallus as a wand. And in the moment, in the act of intimacy, they will also be casting word spells by talking in the woman's ear or reinforcing their intentions as it relates to these women by way of possession. Who do you belong to? All of that. So that act becomes a spiritual ritual within itself, and they are utilizing their phallus as a actual wand, like any other wizard, like any other witch, like any other magician. And so just because he does not have an altar, it does not mean he's innocent, and it does not mean that Nevaeh is anything any different than him. He's so aware of his own darkness that he can kind of yield it a lot much more than those women. And as it relates to Nevaeh and how he's trying to frame everything to make it look like she's so spiritually unstable and she is so demonic and something to look out for, I don't really believe that she even knows to the capacity of what she's doing, because for a lot of people who are engaging in that lifestyle or that spiritual practice, it is a closed practice for them. So they really don't reveal their hand in terms of what they really do behind closed doors. So for her to be very visible about her quote unquote altar, I just think that that is a lot of sensationalism. And I do believe it is for views and engagement so that people could be so shocked and then they give a reaction to the point where they're driven to engage. And then there's so much discourse and think pieces about it. And then here we are talking about it, because if it was, she wouldn't be so vocal or allow him to be so visible about that particular thing. But him, on the other hand, very much so a warlock, very self aware of his darkness, and he knows how to yield it and use it at will. The only innocent people in this situation, because I don't really see any victims, I see more so volunteers of chaos, not so much victims of abuse. The only people that I do feel sorry for in this whole entire debacle are the children. The Bible says that the sins of the father will fall on the children. I believe that because the mothers and the fathers who are in this dynamic, they are so broken, so damaged, so addicted to chaos. They struggle with so many strongholds and deal with so much spiritual warfare and internal conflict that their children are going to face and inherit the consequences of their parents' lifestyle choices, mindsets, this overall concept of normalcy, to the point where you can see it as early as right now with Blueface's children that he already has, and as well as other children who are connected to this situation. A lot of the things that they're doing in terms of acting out and just being emotionally or verbally belligerent, these are the results of the lifestyles that their parents have given to these children. These lifestyle norms are seen as dysfunctional according to traditional standards, but it is normal with these children and their households because the foundation, unfortunately, is very flawed.
First baby shower.
Okay, good. It should be good. It should be a moment to remember.
It's my third baby shower.
Congratulations. It should be a moment to remember for
Third time I
me.
did this. Man, you on this past, move on. I don't move on from the past. The past matters much more to me than the present and the future. I don't know how many times I gotta tell you that.
For some people, us bearing witness to the chaos that is these people's lives is entertainment. But for other people, this is just a cautionary tale. It's a cautionary tale that if you do not overcome your own shortcomings, your own dysfunctional mindsets, your own social norms, especially if you know that it's setting you back in life, and as well as the many strongholds and addiction and vices that you may have, that not only are you going to wreak havoc on your own life, but everything connected to you that comes into your orbit or that comes into your personal space, it will be a fallout, and you will see the misfortunes of whatever you got going on as it relates to your internal conflict. Your internal conflict is going to bleed over not only on you, but everyone that you come into contact with, especially very innocent, very vulnerable children, if you decide to have some as an extension to the behavior or the lifestyle that you're living. It's a very sad and very unfortunate situation because we all are bearing witness to people actively trauma bonding and creating generational curses in real time. Very unfortunate, but this is a cautionary tale and something for us all to reflect upon and look at our lives and see if it's something that we need to overcome as it relates to our own personal spiritual warfare and internal conflict.